Hello and welcome. Hi. Oh, we are coming to you live today from the Unlock Your Design studios. Today we're going to be going into a few charts to illuminate the solar plexus hub, the solar plexus center. So within this Thrive by Design series that Bella and I started the end of last year, this month the theme is the solar plexus, which is the emotional center. And I'm going to pull up an image of this for you so that you can, if you're new to this is going to help. So this is the solar plexus hub. And this is the themes here are emotional competency and relating. And if you are familiar with human design, you'll know that inside the body graph, it's over here on the lower right side of the body graph. And then the archetypes that live here, if you're familiar with our 64 door archetypes, these gates, we've named them. So the 36, we call the storm. And this is the gate of crisis. The 22, we call grace. And the 37, we call the mother. The 6, the peacemaker, the 49, the revolutionary, and the 55, the game changer. And lastly, the 30 is called the fire starter. And I feel it's important to mention too that energetically in the transit right now, we're in the 41, which is the originator, which is the harmonic gate to the 30. So the 41 right now is reaching to feel, to experience something new. And the 30 is the one that has the desires or wants to also come together with the 41 to have a different kind of emotional experience. And it's part of the sensing circuit, I believe. And the way that it's bringing in wisdom and information is through experiences, through feeling, through senses. And it comes through the emotional center to do that. So it's not a logical thing. It's just like, let's have different experiences so we can feel different things and we can decide and discern, what do we want? What do we not want? How can we accept this more deeply? And it's just about experiencing something new. And the 41 is kind of this cosmic start codon here. Bella, is there anything that you want to orient people with as we are about to go into the charts? Anything about the 41, anything in the emotional center? What's important for them to know if this is the first time they're also seeing this?
This is an emotional soup. This plane we're swimming in as humans, because 51% of humans are emotional in their inner authority and 49 aren't. And all of us that are open, we amplify the emotional wave. So I believe we are learning a lot about it and that we're becoming more aware. And this is a motor center that is becoming also an awareness center. So a double significance of this center. And I would say it's the most powerful in the chart. It's a motor and it's becoming an awareness center. It is creating this whole emotional atmosphere that we know in the human realm. And the shadows here are powerful. It's turbulence, dishonor, weakness, conflict, reaction, victimization, and desire. And like Ashley said, right now we have the 41, which is the one that starts the year of the I Ching. That is the fuel to feel. And that's what starts the whole human experimental way. That's what starts us off, to have all the experience and to then little by little, that is wisdom that serves us all. And that's what's activated every time that we start a new cycle, the rave new year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so what we're going to be doing today, thank you, Bella. What we're going to be doing today is going into 3 different charts, hopefully 3 different charts from our inner circle members. So these people are going in the Thrive by Design journey with us. Some of them have been there since the beginning when we did the root, then we did the sacral. Now we're in the solar plexus. So the theme of these readings is going to be about the solar plexus center. So we're going to bring in what we see in their chart. Maybe they have a defined emotional center, maybe it's undefined. We're going to give you guys information and snippets from their chart. It's not a full chart reading, so we're just going to spend a little bit of time for each person. And yeah, and that's kind of what we're doing today. So if you're curious about Thrive by Design, we'll put a link in the comments for the Thrive by Design series, the first one that we did, which goes into all the different centers. And then if you are interested in joining the inner circle and joining this journey with us, comment in the chat as well, so that we know, or in the comments, so that we know that you're interested, so we can get you to the right place. And then I'd also love to know, for those of you that are watching, do you have a defined or undefined solar plexus center? And what archetypes do you have living there? So if you want to share that with us, that would be amazing as well. And then as you are tuning into these people's charts, I want you to find the similarities that you have with them, because odds are, as you're listening to us do these chart readings, something may stand out for you that is relevant for you. Maybe somebody shares the same gate. Maybe they're an emotional authority like you. And so I would tune in to kind of see what's here for you. Why are you watching this? And maybe why did the universe guide you here? What do you need to hear? And when you do hear that, we'd love to know kind of what resonated with you. Why are you here? What brought you here? And try to uncover that as you are listening in and tuning in. Like, how is this for you personally, even though we're not reading your chart? Okay. So are you ready, Bella, to go into the first? Okay. Yay. Let's go. So here, let me zoom out a little bit. Here we have Jeremy. Jeremy is in the inner circle with us. He's an emotional generator. So you can see that the solar plexus center is defined. When it's defined, it makes him an emotional authority. He's a generator because he has the 659 channel, the channel of mating, that defines his sacral center. And so within the emotional center, again, he's the cross of contagion. I didn't say this, but inside his emotional center, he has grace, he has the peacemaker, he has the revolutionary, and he has the fire starter in a defined solar plexus center. And he's a split, which means that this kind of connection is an island over here, and then he has his throat connected to his splenic center. So there's no direct connection that connects all of these. So what would bridge his split would be the 12, because that would connect the 12 and the 22. And then his emotional center would then have access to the throat. So right now he doesn't have direct access to kind of voice what's happening inside of him or what wave he's on. And normally maybe he'll bring in somebody that has the 12 that then bridges that split. And there'll be a lot of opportunities to communicate his emotions and what's going on with him and inside of him. What stands out to you, Bella, about this chart?
If you've heard of like fire and water coming together, it's a weird combination, and you would kind of think the water kills the fire. But I often speak about a new element that I call Shakti energy, that is fire water, and that I feel it's like the sacred waters. And if you've ever heard about Amrita, which is the more spiritual word, I guess, for squirting, this is what I think of when I hear fire water. It's this release that is like an explosion, but it doesn't burn you. It actually releases you. It liberates you. So when I look at this chart, and this is a little bit more, you kind of have to know a little bit about the geometry of the I Ching and of the codon rings to know this. But if we look at the 8, which is the life's work, that is part of the codon ring of water together with the second gene key. When you look at the 14, it's part of the codon ring of fire with a 1. So the 8 and the 14 are like this Vesica Pisces. It's like 2 rings that are making up an infinite 8, the 1 and the 14 and the 8 and the 2. So it's fire and water codon. And then you look at the 30 and the 29, which is the radiance and the purpose. And here, if you go into the I Ching geometry, the 30 has a trigram of fire and another trigram of fire. It's fire over fire. We call it the fire starter in our archetypes. In the 29, we call it the water goddess, because she has a trigram of water over a trigram of water. So you look, 70% of who this person is has to do with the fire water element, and them they coming together in an energy that he's here to fuel. And what I feel is beautiful too, connected to the solar plexus center, and in what way this is going to be translated. You can see we have, again, in the chart, we have things that are more than once. So you see the 59 is the EQ and the pearl. And then the 40 is the vocation and the culture. And looking at this is a little bit even more complicated, but if you look at the North Node 29 and 4, that's part of the codon ring of union. So the 59, the 29, the 7, and the 4, it's the codon ring of union. It has to do with how human beings relate. And, you know, like this might sound weird because we are speaking about the emotional center, but actually it's the sexual center, because it has to do with the desire and the emotions around sex. The sacral center is the availability for sex. So what I feel here, what I see in front of me in the codon ring of union, is that the way that we humans have been coming together and merging, it's not always been in the highest possibility of that codon ring of union. So the 59 gift is intimacy. The 7th gift is like guidance, inner guidance. The 4 is understanding, and the 29 is devotion or commitment. These are the higher frequency of what we are waking up to, what's possible. But the way that the fire and the water has been coming together many times in how we know is that often the man takes the fire, the woman takes the water, and often it doesn't create fire water. It creates that the woman doesn't boil enough and the man is too hot. And then there is no true merging. There is no true understanding. So there is something in here that has to do with understanding of polarities within ourselves, so that we can both the in gender, both the male body and the female body can have wholeness within and coming together in surrendering. Like look at the vocation and the culture, the way that we do it. You know, it is about surrendering to something new that is going to create this intimacy that hasn't been felt before. And we have the whole channel 659 here, which is both the 6 that can say, no, I don't want this. And then the 59 that tries to penetrate. So the fact that we also have those two parts in one chart with the 6 and the 59 together means that it is about creating where there is an understanding in the 59 that the 6 can feel when anything is off. It can feel it, and it can put up walls, and it can feel this harmony, the conflict in the field. But the 59 can connect in such a deep intimacy so that it can respect the other part. And that's the same thing what I feel with the 30 and the 29, like that deep devotion, that fire, and they find a way of relating. So for me, this chart, this emotional center, is speaking about a new way of relating. There is for sure that this person, now coming back to the more personal, that he has felt the reaction in relationships, and that there have been places where there has been dishonoring and maybe desires that had led to something that maybe today Jeremy would call it wisdom. When it happened, it was more of like, okay, this was an experience, and I don't know if that was necessarily an experience that was worth having, because that's how the individual often thinks about what Ashley was saying in the beginning, this collective thing of experience. I would say as a 4-6 profile that probably in the first 30 years, there has been, things that feel like, being burnt or feel like turbulence. So the most important thing when you have fire and water in your chart, whether that is like putting a hair dryer in the bathtub, like being electrocuted, or it is of like, oh no, a meeting where just the fire goes out. I would say all those experiences as a 4-6 are here to give you cellular wisdom, cellular discernment. You're a 6 line in the body. So wherever you go, you are, and with that 6 gene key, you are here to feel what's off. You're here to feel where the connectedness is or where it isn't, like that discerning. So I would say with all that experience of the reaction, the dishonor, the conflict, the desire that sometimes lead to things that are not what we expected, at this point, within the like years on the roof and after, you're here to be a role model for that discernment of like who to make fire water with and who not to make fire water with. And as a 4-6 completely transpersonal, I even feel like there could be like bigger groups, like the 21 is a manager. Maybe it is about coming together and even like create experiences like that. You can be very convincing once you know what it is that you're focusing on in life. With that fourth line IQ, you can be very convincing. But you see the 15 again, there's never going to be total, like there's always going to be something alive. The 15 is the wild woman or the wild man. There's always going to be something alive around you. So I think the worst thing that could happen with this chart is that somebody has all these experiences with the 59, the 6. Sometimes you're the penetrator. Sometimes you put up walls and you don't really even have the awareness of when you do which, and there's a reaction and the turbulence. So when you have had enough, you're like, okay, I'm just going to sit here on the roof and look down and I'm going to control everybody with the 21. And I don't want to have extremes. I rather, so this, the 6 line profile could say, this is a too risky life. And since I'm never going to be sure of anything and I'm not ready to surrender, I don't want to live. Like that would be the worst thing. And then you would have some kind of like super safe thing, but your soul would die. That's what would be the opposite of the potential of this profile. And I know I will also say, sometimes when we have the 6 line, especially in the body, I know that what I say about it sounds out there, but it just seems like there's something with the 6 line in the body that is out there. And with that, the devotion and the rapture in the design, in the radiance and purpose, it's not like a life that is not out there. It's going to be quite out there. It has the potential for being quite out there, for deep surrender, deep intimacy, deep devotion.
Mm-hmm. And a role model at that. I mean, there's so many 6 lines in this chart. When we're looking at it, like all the nodes, the environment, there's going to be so many different opportunities on your path for you to step into that role model role. So it's like, I can also see in the patterning of the solar plexus that the only defined that is on the personality side is the 49. So the 6, the 22, the 30 are unconscious. They're not directly like accessible to you in a way that like, oh yeah, I totally recognize that and realize that, unless you've been working with these energies a long time. But in the beginning, like, yeah, okay, I can see how I could be, a person that is eliciting a lot of reaction or whatever in another person. I mean, it is your south node, so it's something you're very comfortable with. Not comfortable. It's not really about a comfort thing. It's just like, what it's like to either be the one that's in reaction or to be the one that's being reacted towards. And I think that with the 6 that you have here, it's in your design Saturn. And that is the inner masculine. There's something, the foundation that's created here with that, letting somebody in or not letting somebody in. And as soon as that reaction comes, it's like, oh, what? Not harmony here. Let's shut off. So there's like a coldness that could happen where it's like, nope, not letting you in, unless you're able to keep your heart open and still have, those boundaries. Say, no, I'm not going to let you penetrate me at this moment, or no, I'm not going to penetrate you at this moment. Because the 6 is the boundaries, is the barriers, like we were talking about, like Bella was talking about. It's unconscious though in your design Saturn. So it's like, this is the inner masculine, and the 4th line here is the heart. And so I think that your heart just knows. It knows like what is going to cause a lot of like that turbulence and turmoil, and maybe as a self-preservation thing, like, where do I need to shut off that fire water? And it's like, you're completely cold. There's nothing happening between you and the individual. It's like there's this mechanism that can occur, that there's no fluid, there's no liquids, there's no merging, there's no potential here at all. And so that may have been something that your mind had to create and generate whenever you felt that energy in your nervous system. It's like, oh, shut down, close off. And you have the 59 here too. So it like wants that intimacy. But if you're really scared of being judged, or you're really scared of the projection field, you're gonna need to shut down or shut off as like this self-preservation mechanism, I feel like. And so when you're in relationship and when you're relating and when you're actually letting someone in, you have to be transparent. It's like you can't help it. I feel like people that have the 59 and 6, they're just very alluring, like magnetic beings. Like everyone wants to be in their juiciness. Everybody wants to be in their energy. And especially if you're in like a monogamous relationship, you can't turn this off. If you do start turning this off, you start like putting out that Shakti fire water. And so you are going to be alluring. There are going to be people like that are going to be throwing themselves at you or like wanting to be in your energy. And I feel like if you're with a partner that is very what is the word, they're jealous? Just like they have the inadequacy or they feel like they get jealous, then they're going to try to control you, and you're not going to want to be controlled. But they're so afraid of your sexuality and your magnetism that they're going to make you shut down and shut off and be less sexual, be less sensual, because they're afraid someone's going to take them from you. So that control is a way that can play out in the relationship, and the way that you can really shut off that juiciness of your being. Because when you're in partnership, maybe somebody's like too scared to lose you. So they're like, I'd rather you just like shut it all off than be this magnetic being that everybody wants to throw themselves at. So I can see that kind of playing out.
And that also makes sense, knowing that compromise is the shadow of the evolution. So 90% of humanity gets stuck in the challenge between life's work. So mediocrity and compromise could be the way that you live your relationships, because a 4-6 is here to live in relationship. And like Ashley was saying, then the compromise is going right into that 21.2, so that the true reciprocity is not possible because of that fear that, you know, that would happen in the connection with the other person. So yeah, that makes super much sense, Ashley. And the last thing I would say about this chart, because I know that you aren't in the inner circle doing Thrive by Design, I feel is going to be super, super important looking at this chart. You see how many activations there is in the Ajna and in the ego. There's going to be pressure on you to live up to people's expectations, you know, in the open ego. And that's what I could see the compromise of the evolution too. And then, like Ashley was saying, there's an intelligence here, and with all these Ajna gates, like you're not supposed to come to conclusions, but there's a lot of stuff in your Ajna that want to see the pattern and want to organize stuff and want to have, you know, so I feel like that's also, so to really be able to live the genius of that Ajna, to understand what how the not self works, those two centers for the deconditioning process feel important. And the way that we are working with them now is like through the embodiment, because to just think about them and learn about them, you completely recognize yourself, but then not much changes. So I'm looking forward to that as well when we get to those two centers.
Yeah. So Jeremy, I know that he's on Facebook right now and was commenting a little bit. Let us know how this resonated and what you thought about it. He did say that jealousy has been a massive theme from others in his life too. So that is definitely had been playing out some way or another in different instances. So it's interesting having that commitment and the reaction that can show up in partners or others. So thank you so much for giving us your charts and letting us go deep and being transparent, because especially if someone knows how to read charts, you're basically putting yourself out there, you know, and this is transparency. This is who you are. And it's beautiful to be able to have the opportunity to illuminate these parts of you and share yourself with the world in this way. So thank you for trusting us with your charts and also allowing us to share it with our audience as well, because that's what we love to do. And I think that if you watch this and you resonated with something, or maybe have a similarity with Jeremy, can you let us know in the chat as well, so that we can see what fractal is kind of being called to action over here, who needed to hear something that Jeremy also needed to hear. That's always fun to see. Okay, let's move on. So this is Nathalie. She's a 3-5 sacral generator. You can see that she's got her sacral defined, connected to her root down here. And then we have a big split happening between the lower centers and the upper one. She has a defined head, ajna, and throat. And so whenever this happens, it's like super important, especially being a generator, to be in your body. to be in your body, to be in your sacral. This is your authority, not your mind. But there's a lot of activations happening here that goes from, the mind, the ajna, or the head, the ajna, and the throat. So there's a lot of activity that can happen and be generated here. But as long as you're grounded first and foremost in that 360, mutation is going to be a way of life for you, girlfriend. And she's the cross of laws. So what that means is we got the 50, the 3, the 56, and the 60. Her emotional center, so since this is the theme, it's undefined, and she has the game changer and the fire starter here. So I'm going to pass this over to Bella. And Bella, what is it that you see that's important, especially having to do with the solar plexus center being open like this?
Okay, I'm going to go with what I see because even if it's not like, so 55.5 is the Saturn. Saturn is the archetype that sits inside the gene key chart behind the SQ. And this is what Richard is going to teach soon. And what for me, that was a revelation that was extremely important. And I spoke with Richard about this years ago, and he said, Bella, I think that when there's a chart, you should just take the person right in there, maybe ask a few questions like, are you in a relationship? Like, and then just go right in there. And isn't it like weird that this look like two-dimensional, but actually it's not two-dimensional, it's in space. So you can see that actually they can be in the same place. And this is what we call the sacred union. And you could say it's the sacred union. Saturn is more masculine, Venus, SQ is more feminine, between feminine and masculine. But there is much more than that to uncover, because we could also see that the body side is the form, is really the feminine. So here it might be like the dark feminine or the grandmother energy. The whole thing with this is, though, what I could say to you, Natalie, is that the Venus work is going to be extremely important for you. Because what Ash and I have seen for years is that if the SQ is still blocked, then there is no way to even feel the Saturn. 55 is freedom times exponentially because it's the gift in the city. So as long as the SQ is not completely open, Richard doesn't really go through what comes behind it, because it's almost like I'm sitting here and I am trying to feel into my Venus, to my heart, to my body, but I don't do it yet, maybe. So I don't even know that I have this comfortable share that I can just surrender back into the matter, the form that is taking me so I can be a passenger. So the whole Venus work is about looking at those different parts of us, the core wound that we took on, the physical body with its imprinting from how we are in symbiosis with our mom. And the first 7 years is to come away from our mom and become our individual. And then the EQ, this is 8 to 14 years old, when we emotionally start to confront the world. So the emotional imprints. And then the IQ are the mental imprints that we it's our intelligence, the way that we can cope with the imprinting of the core wound, the imprinting in the physical body and the imprinting in the emotional body. And many times those mental strategies is to not feel anymore what we had to feel when we were 0 or like even in the womb until 21 or 14, 21. So it becomes like a coping strategy or avoiding the things that hurt. And it kind of perpetuates the core wound, because it means that we don't dare to feel the core wound. And if you don't dare to feel the core wound, there is no way of opening the core wound. So here for you, I would say, again, path of realization between vocation and SQ, that is going to be all about Gene Key 12. So Gene Key 12 is extremely, extremely important for you. It's the prophet in the 64 doors. And the core wound of shame. And then the safety, like feeling rhythm in your body. Like I feel, looking at your chart, everything is happening between the root center and the sacral center. When everything can happen there and you can feel the pulse of your body, you can feel your kundalini, you can circulate your energy, you are going to be able to be stable. Before that, this 55 and the 30 are going to pull you. You have an open emotional center. You are open for conditioning there. And we have those, like I would say, fiery gene keys, both of them, or gates that can pull you
both
up.
In Saturn.
Exactly, both in Saturn. So, and then you have an open spleen too, with some of the fears, and the purposelessness is there. So for me, what I really would like you to do is to ground in the root, connect to your Kundalini, whether it's Kundalini yoga, whether it's Tantra, whether it's, whatever it is, to feel this pulse of that is in you all the time. And then look at the Venus work. So the most important thing with the SQ is you are here to parent your inner child. And your inner child needed certainty, rhythm, and routine. Line 1 in the SQ. You're here to give it to her every single day. And she wants you to be very discerning and like discriminating with whom you are like interacting with. And that can be hard for the 3-5 because you're here to like interact and go up the stairs and fall down. But in order for your inner feminine to be able to come out as a grown woman, the inner child needs to be safe. Line 1 is about safety. So you need to be really discerning. And I think that there is something in your history, in your family, where maybe there hasn't been that discernment. And some of the things that are imprinted is because there wasn't that discernment. And that's part of the IQ, some of the karma that you're here to transmute. So important for you to be the parent for that child and give her that safety. And as a 3-5, kind of, you're not here to live with an agenda, but in order for you to be able to tap into the 5th line of the radiance and the purpose, and that purpose is part of what is in that root. I would like you to still be a little bit discerning with those interactions. The last thing I'm going to say is that ties into you having the pearl and the culture in the 23. That is the part of the channel of the genius or the freak. It's going to be important who is around you, because if not the right people are around you, they are not going to be able to hear you, and you're going to be the freak, and you're going to feel again like that your message doesn't come through. The 12 is also the message that you're not heard, and that people are too distracted to hear you, that people are too limited to hear you, and you're not going to be able to ascend in your attraction with other people. So for me, I feel like you and your inner child are going to decide who get to be in your life. That would be the responsibility of the parent. And when you do, suddenly you realize that this is behind you. The freedom seats in a 5th line, 55.5, was there all the time for you to lean into. But with some of the everyday chaos that can be there for the 3rd line, you didn't really realize that actually it seems like maybe it's not even like, maybe even other people, the right people, are going to come in and unlock that 55 for you. But it comes from you being that parent, that making sure that the child is safe. And you see in the EQ too, is meanness and kindness. You want to be with people that are kind, and yeah, it's only you that can take responsibility for that, is what it feels like.
Mm-hmm. That was really good. I feel like with the 12 that you were mentioning and the 23 both being in the throat center, there's something about discerning when to speak, when not to speak. It's like allowing the right people into your life as well. But there's also something about your vibration, the tone of your voice. I mean, you're a 3-5, so there is the tone, the frequency that lives in your body. It's like the reverberating chamber of your throat, of your larynx. Feel like there's something there. Like you can create magic. It can be very empowering or can be very destabilizing and cutting. Like you can be the one to deliver the really hard message, or even or even bring in like that fire, and you can burn people. You can be the one to burn people with your voice, because maybe also you were burned as a child, and maybe there wasn't always like the consistency of like a mother or a father who was able to speak to you in a loving way. Maybe they burned you, with their fire, and maybe there wasn't that certainty and rhythm that like, oh, is mom in a bad mood or a good mood? You have an open emotion. I'm pretty sure you probably maybe had somebody in your life that had the defined emotional center where you're like, oh, it's not safe. Oh, how are they going to be speaking to me today? Like, am I going to get yelled at for this or that? And when you get yelled at, it's so destabilizing to the nervous system as a child that we begin to shut down and we repress our knowing. We repress that prophet in us. And everything becomes more complicated because we're so scared of what we're going to say or how it's going to be taken, that 23, it's like it just fumbles around trying to speak, but it can't, because it doesn't know how to articulate it, because it's so scared of getting yelled at or being shamed or whatever the story is. So I think that for you, you're here to tap into that profit and to have these really poignant, simple messages that come through that you're sharing. You're here to create these containers for simplicity, for quintessence. It's like, what is the essence of this? And with your magician ability to create these amazing containers and share your voice again, you're here to deliver these profound messages. And you're here to be the one that alchemizes the corruption, brings people into equilibrium, and may need to burn down the containers, because the 50 is, I mean, we have the fire here, and it's about, the corruption, this trial and error happening here, and your eternal child here to make these containers with the magician and the comedian. It's like, I think that you're here to have these mutative containers of transformation with other people. And they're going to be simple and profound and beautiful. But you have to also be able to hone in on, like, your word is your weapon. And it's the sword of truth, or it's the sword that's going to cut someone. So it's really important for you to tune into and take a breath before you speak. And it's like, is this damaging? Is this destroying? Am I also being honorable in this way? Because sometimes you do need to get straight to the point. That dark masculine needs to come in and be very penetrating and piercing and slice through the bullshit. And like, that's who you're meant to be at times. But it's like, can you do that with a pure heart and with compassion and with that purity, knowing that it's seeded with love and not with hate, and not with, where you're using your fire to burn as like a punishment or to burn for whatever reason. It's like, can you use that fire that comes through your voice in a very powerful way? So, yeah.
One is super short.
No, go ahead. I was just going to say, I don't think we have time for the next person, but I think that it would, like, if you need to if you're going to share more about Natalie, that would be amazing. And then we'll probably wrap up.
Yeah. So I'm drawn to your attraction. And this is like the last thing I'm going to say about the chart. So here, what comes to me, what like looks at me, and I think it has to do with what Ashley was saying with your child. Like, there's something in your childhood that you were a victim for, and all of us were victim for something. But there's something in the imprint with that 55 and the 12 that says that something happened. And then the 6th line in the attraction is about disappointment. So what comes through for me is, don't let the disappointment block your aspiration of what's possible. That's important. And also in relationships, because it's a 3-5, I think there have been relationships that didn't work out, but don't let your disappointment block that aspiration, block that 54. It feels important. And Ashley and I both have 6 lines in our attraction, so we know how that is. The second thing I wanted to say, Natalie, is I see that you're born in France in 1964. And I know that Ashley and I are speaking extremely fast when we speak English. So this is going to be on YouTube, and you can turn down the speed to listen a little less fast. And also feel free to reach out to me in French. And if there's anything that was too fast, ask me, and I'll make sure that I explain to you in French, because we love to have people in the inner circle from different places. We have Canadian people, we have French people, we've had Swedish people, we have a lot of people from Holland. Like, we love to do that. And sometimes we do speak fast because this is so amazing, but I want to make sure, that you could hear the purity of the message, you having the vocation in the 12. So please let us know if there's anything we need to clarify for you.
Yes.
And Ashley, do you have, before we go into our container in the portals of deconditioning, if people want to join and be part, I mean, I can almost promise that if you come into the inner circle and you're with us for the next few months, we're going to be able to read your chart, because we don't have, we are like doing really what we can to read everybody's chart at some point. So if this was fun, for $44 a month or something like that, or $22 the first month, that would cover, like, that is like half of the, I don't even know, actually, that would, this kind of reading, if they do a mini reading, is much more expensive. So I would say join us and be in the energy.
Yes, I agree. So if you are interested, please comment. And if you reach out to us, we can definitely hook you up. So if you would like to get like a discount code We have that for you. I'm not going to announce it publicly. You have to take initiative. So reach out to us and say, I want in the inner circle, and we'll give you the discount code so that you can come in and join us, since we are kind of in the middle of the month this month. But if you do sign up, you'll be for sure in it for the rest of the solar plexus, and you'll have that content. And then you'll also be getting the next one that we're going to go into, which I think we're doing the heart, the ego center. I'm not 100% sure, but you'll be there for this one and next one. So it's kind of a cool timing because you'll get both. So reach out to us, and thank you so much for joining and tuning in, and let us know what you found to be valuable here, and what you resonated with. So thanks again, and have a wonderful rest of your day.